So I rolled a slab this morning, a pretty big slab, and then I took just a standard size business envelope and used that to mark off my lines for 6 equal slabs all the way across. And then this is about a 2-inch wide strip, the length of all of these business size slabs all the way across. We're going to cut this apart and we're going to use it to make a test tile box. So I'm just going to take my knife and cut over the lines that I've marked around that envelope. And now I have everything all the same size all the way down to that extra strip. Just a nice single pull. Don't pull it like you're slicing a piece of bread. Try to do a single pull. As straight as you can. You can use the ruler there if you need to, or put your envelope back down as a guideline. And I'm just going to cut all of those marks that I made. So I have 6 equal pieces the size of a business envelope. And I have 1 2-inch wide strip, the total length of all those envelope widths. So I'm going to remove my extra clay. I'm going to save it. I'm going to put it to the side. Probably going to make extra test tiles, extra strips out of that. I'm going to need a few little coils. And there are all the parts that are going to make my test tile box. Cut the strip off too. So I've got 6 slabs that are the size of the business envelope. I'm going to let them stiffen up a little bit, and then we'll assemble. Okay, so I've had all my slabs cut out and sitting on a board for a couple of hours. You guys are probably going to wind up rolling and cutting yours, putting a piece of plastic on the board, and then laying another plastic sheet just light over the top and letting them stiffen up until the following week so that you're building stiff slab boxes. I have a little tool here that I'm using instead of a pin tool. It's just like a little metal brush. This can make your scoring go a little faster. Use it a lot. And my beveling knife, which I think does come in your kits. So these get better with age. This has definitely changed shape over the years. And I think I've had it for probably 25 or 30 now. Anyway. Okay, so these have all been cut to the size of a standard business envelope. You're just laying it down on a slab, tracing it out. We cut out 6 of them because I'm going to do a couple of different things with them. The first thing I'm going to do is they're all about 1/4 of an inch in thickness. I'm going to score. I'm going to score all the way down the sides. That tool does it really quickly. It's nice. Flip it over. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just roughing it up, scoring it down either side. Now, on the ones I'm attaching to it, I'm going to lay it down right next to it, and I'm going to score actually on the surface. I'm going to go both ways on that one. I'm going to do the same thing. It's a little technique. I'm going to do the same thing on the surface of this one. These are going to stand up and be my sides. I'm going to add some slurry. Got a little bit of clay broken down in there and some water. I'm going to do that on all 4 parts. Then I'm going to connect. And I'm going to stand my slab up. And just push in along the bottom on the outside so it gets connected. You can see that probably a little better on this side. I'm going to stand it up. So this, I scored the surface of this one and the outside edge of this one. My scored surfaces are touching. And then I'm going to go along on this outside edge and just kind of tap it in so I get some connection there. Okay, so I've got my 2 sides standing up. Now, I'm going to take another one of those, same size, and I'm going to set it down so it sits just inside. Okay, so you can see it's scored here all the way around, scored in here, everywhere those are going to touch. I'm adding my slip on. Everywhere that's been scored, I'm going to stand it right up inside, on top of the bottom and inside, and I'm just going to pinch, push those sides in to connect. And do the same thing at the other end. I'm going to stand it up inside, right on top of all the score lines. I'm going to push from the side. I'm holding it, push from the side, and connect. Now, I also have a little trick. This is just a flat 1/4 inch piece of hardwood. It's actually the back to a desk drawer. And I'm going to give it a little tap. Just to square it up a little bit. Always holding the opposite of where anywhere I'm touching. I'm paddling on the outside, I'm holding on the inside. Okay. Okay, so our box is together, and we're going to go one step further and make it stronger. And I'm going to take that little scoring tool again, or you're doing it with your pin tool. And I'm going to score along all of the places that we have a connection, all of the seams, up the sides, just everywhere where we put a slab together. And I've rolled out some skinny coils. I'm going to break a piece off and I'm going to push that in, holding the outside. I'm always touching the opposite of where I'm touching. I'm just going to push that in. And I'm going to do a little coil like that, especially in all the corners. You get a better connection, and it's just stronger all the way around. So, one more corner. And I'm going to go down both the sides. Now, this is going to be for test tiles. So it's good box building practice. You're going to learn more about glazes this semester. I would say if this is going to be an art box or a piece you were making, not just for glaze tests, but, you know, as a piece, as a project, then I would also go back inside just with a wet finger and or the back of a tool, like a sculpting tool or a pen or whatever. Always holding the opposite side of where I'm touching. And I would go back and smooth those out more. Make the inside of my box completely clean and smooth. And for the test tile box, it's more important that you just have your connections. You have good connections. Clean it up a little bit. Always touching, always supporting the opposite side of where I'm touching. Okay, so I don't want to spend too much time on this. I don't want you guys to spend too much time on this because it's really a test box. It's going to be, if you have glazes out of your experiments that overflow, they're going to overflow into the box and not into the kiln. Okay. I'm just going to paddle a little more, kind of straighten it out from all that I just did to it. Okay. Now, we have this strip that was a long 2-inch strip that we made at the same time as we made the rectangles for the box. And I want for the strip to hang over. I'm going to mark it so I know that I have a good width hanging over either side. And then I'm going to cut multiple pieces that size. So I've got my mark on there. I'm going to slice it. I'm going to move that forward. I'm going to make another one the same. I'm going to move that forward. Lining them up on the end. I'm going to cut another one the same. Okay, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. I'm going to stack them up. And I'm going to cut them in half the length way, the long way, vertically, so that I get 8 strips. Now I know I have 8 strips that fit across the top of my box. So they're all the same size. I've got 8 that are going to fit across the top. We're going to lay these all down. all of my strips. Lay it down. And we're going to find a tool, whatever tool you use. We're going to find a tool. And we're going to poke a hole in them. Pretty much in the middle. I should say in the middle of the width, but maybe a little closer to the top. We've done that to all 8. Still have 2 pieces left of the original size from everything we made, so these are still just set. Business size envelope rectangle. Move some of my strips out of the way. I'm going to cut this so that I get 8 tiles. So I'm going to cut it in half. I'm going to turn it. I'm going to cut it in half again. So I have 4 pieces now. I'm going to cut that in half. I've got 4 on that side. I've got 4 on this side. So I have 8 smaller rectangles. I have 8 tiles. These are all going to be able to hang down in here and not touch the bottom. We don't want them to touch the bottom. Anything that gets attached, we score, right? So there's one of my squares. I'm going to score it across the top. I'm going to look where my hole is. That's my top. I'm going to score that. I'm going to add a little slurry. And I'm going to attach it. I'm just going to push it down. These do not have to be like gorgeously pretty. They are test tiles. Make sure my hole's going all the way through. Then if you want to have texture on one side, I'm going to smooth this out completely. And if you want to have texture on one side, I would say that that really is kind of a good idea. Some glazes really totally fill in texture, and you might not want that. You might want to be accentuating your stamp designs or your texture. And some glazes do beautiful things on texture. So it's nice to have one side that's smooth, and one side that has some kind of mark making on it. I'm going to maybe even just divide this tile in half and put some texture on one side, and maybe a couple of different textures. And you get a better idea what the glaze does on a flat surface and what it might do on a textured surface. So let's say that's the test tile that's ready to go, and it's going to sit inside of my box just like that. So when we fire these and you have a glaze that's a brand new glaze, you're not sure what it's going to do, you're going to write down, put a number on your tile, and you're going to write it down in a notebook exactly what you did to this tile. Maybe you put clear, the original recipe here, How many coats did you do? 1 coat, 2 coat? Did you brush it? Did you dip it? And then if you put another color underneath, or you tried an oxide rubbed in here and then washed off and a clear glaze over to see what happened. Did you dunk both ends of the bottom in to 2 different glazes, clear and then broken blue, or broken blue and then white liner, so that you see what happens. We're also going to do some experiments where you start with a base glaze and you make some choices about what you add in and see what happens. What do oxides do for color? What are some things that make glazes maybe shinier? What are some things that make glazes not as shiny? So we're going to talk about some of the chemicals, and you're going to do a little experimenting. But there's a test tile. There's your box to fire them in, so the kilns are safe, and you can learn more about glaze.